I speak enough.
In Cantonese. Thank you. Hare Krishna， 咁好 Hare Krishna， 咁好歡迎各位啦嚟臨呢一個星期日啦，我哋呢一個講課嘅。咁可能開始之前啦，咁我會講少少，即係介紹一下Maharaj 啦，咁就嚟講 Guru Maharaj 啦。咁Maharaj 啦，其實佢係大概70年代嗰陣咧，咁就託俾聖巴寶巴嘅。咁喺之前啦，佢係一個大學生。係啦，咁就係喺求學嘅過程啦，咁佢開始思考一啲人生嘅一啲問題，咁然後佢係喺歐洲嘅時候，你遇到奉獻者，咁然後咧就喺歐洲嗰度咧，亦都係有機會啦，咁之後就見到巴寶巴啦，咁亦就託俾咗俾聖巴寶巴嘅。咁即係好短啦。咁其實 Maharaj 同我哋香港廟嘅姻緣咧，就係其實佢喺之前有一段好長嘅時間咧，其實就係喺香港呢一度咧，咁就居住過啦，暫居。咁然後咧就係喺香港中文大學嗰度咧，咁就係宗教哲學教授咧，咁咧就係去教導咧呢個印度嘅宗教啦、哲學啦同埋文化嘅。咁喺個呢段期間啦，咁佢亦都咧喺亞洲啦，即係特別係中國內地啦，咁咧就有做一啲推廣呢一個印度哲學啦咁樣嘅活動，咁所以亦都有好多嘅中國奉獻者都會認識Maharaj 嘅。咁而家大部分時候啦，咁 Maharaj 其實佢嘅傳教工作通常都係活躍喺歐洲啦，同埋會喺南美洲阿根廷咁樣嘅，係啦。咁我哋今次就好榮幸啦，咁咧就請到 Maharaj 咧嚟咧同我哋介紹佢一啲嘅書嘅。咁因為好似頭先提過啦，其實 Maharaj 咧除咗係喺 ISKCON 我哋參與呢個 Krishna 嘅知覺嘅一個傳教活動之外咧，其實咧佢亦都係大學嘅教授嚟嘅。咁佢之前咧就係之前講，因為佢大學生，咁佢就修行咗做一段好長嘅時間喺歐洲嘅傳教之後咧，咁其實佢後尾亦都喺牛津大學嗰度咧完成咗咧佢嗰個博士課程，咁就所以佢係宗教哲學啦嘅博士嚟嘅。咁而係專攻就係理所當然啦，就係印度宗教哲學或 Krishna-ksetra 咁嘅。咁所以我哋今日咧其實主要呢一個星期日朝頭早呢個講課啦，其實就係想介紹翻咧佢一啲著作，咁同埋佢一啲嘅新書，最近佢出咗一啲新書，咁我哋就去聽翻咁樣嘅，係啦。Sorry, it's a bit long, sorry, but I've done。哦，係咪真係要用英文講多次啊？哦 ，OK。Okay, sorry, I just made an introduction about Maharaj, about his very brief introductions about his experience in preaching in Europe, and mostly his academic career and focusing in preaching in the universities. And previously he has spent some time in Hong Kong and associated with the Chinese University of Hong Kong, teaching there, introducing Indian philosophy and cultures. So now it's most of the time he's still in Europe and sometimes in South America, but also he will spend some time in Asia and mostly in Hong Kong and in mainland China as well. And today there are some books that we would like to have Maharaj introduce about the books that are written. Yeah.
And before we do that, shall we sing a little Hare Krishna?
即係咁開始之前啦，我哋可能會有一個短短嘅 kirtan 嘅時候係。
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna-ksetra Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Swami Pracharine Nivishesha Sunyamari Paschatya Vishatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Ram Ram,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Rama,
Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Now I can review my lesson on the ABCs. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patita Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare. No, you see the problem is that this is loose, and this requires a special tool in order to tighten. It's not a matter of this or that or this or that. You need this screwdriver. Otherwise, it will be the same problem.
Is it better if the angle is higher?
It'll be better if he gets a screwdriver and tightens. No, I think all it takes is a screwdriver. Okay, thank you all for coming.
歡迎大家嚟到。
And thank you for translating in advance. She's not translating what I just said.
OK。
So I've been asked to say something about these books, which we have produced.
咁我哋咧而家就我被要求咧要講少少關於咧我哋咧出產嘅呢一堆書嘅內容。
So I will try to say something. Of course, they're all in English except two, which are in dual language, namely English and Putonghua.
咁我咧會咧盡量啦，咁就講少少呢啲書嘅。咁其實咧大部分佢都係用英文咧寫成啦。咁除咗有兩本嘅，咁咧佢就呢兩本書咧都有兩個語言，咁就係主要係普通話啦，同埋英文嘅。
So I don't know. Maybe someday some of these that are only in English will be translated. Actually, this one is in process of being translated, the Cow Care Book.
咁咧我咁啊唔知啦，會唔會希望可以有一日咧呢啲咧得英文嘅版本嘅書咧，其實都可以咧被翻譯成其他翻譯翻做其他語言啦。咁而特別嘅就係最新嗰本，即係講關於牛嘅保護啦嗰本書，其實我哋而家咧就係喺翻譯過程中㗎啦，已經係
fixed.
就係
At least for a while. Maybe we should keep the screen. Anyway. So I'll start saying something, I guess, just one after the other for each of the books. This one, Field Notes, Volume 1, is just a collection from an online newsletter that we've been doing for how long now? Already 2 years, I think.
咁嗱，我而家咧會逐本書咧咁就會講嘅。咁第一個我哋會講嘅就係我呢本叫做 Field Notes 啦。咁第一卷嘅書 Field Notes 即係話田野筆記啦。咁我呢一本咧其實咧係咧輯錄咗啦過去嗰2年咧我哋咧擺喺網上嘅一啲新聞嘅一啲文章短篇嚟嘅，輯錄咗。
We call the newsletter Field Notes, which is kind of a play on the expression, because field is one way of translating the word kshetra.
咁其實咧，我哋呢一啲輯錄咗我哋呢一啲本身網上嘅最新消息嘅嗰啲文章啦。咁我哋而家輯錄咗佢嘅時候咧，就叫佢做 Field Notes 田野筆記。咁點解會咁咧？其實因為我哋就咧想玩少少食字嘅，因為咧field 用翻梵文咧就即係 kshetra 啊嘛，即係嗰個場地咁樣。
And field notes is a sort of standard way of describing the notes that are taken by ethnographers when they are out in the field researching, then they're asking people questions and they're making notes. Those are field notes.
咁咧同埋咧呢度咧有個含義嘅，因為咧通常其實我哋咧講話 field notes 啦，即係啲田野筆記咧，其實咧係有少少似咧啲出面啲人類學家啊做緊民族誌嘅時候咧，其實佢哋咧可能咧會咧去唔同嘅地方嗰度做訪問啦，問人哋好多嘅問題，然後就會做翻啲筆記咁樣嘅。
Yeah. You're okay with Guangdonghua?
Maybe
Half.
It's okay.
So it's just a collection, and it's a miscellany. It's a collection of some of my reflections from sometimes extracted from lectures, sometimes from books,
咁所以咧呢一本書其實輯錄嘅嗰啲筆記啦，咁都係屬於一啲可能係好雜項類型嘅，有一啲咧可能係關於我自己一啲心得啦，可能係聽完人哋嘅一啲講課啦，有啲可能係一啲書嘅睇完啲書嘅感想筆記嚟嘅。
So it's a kind of, I don't know, you could call it good bedtime reading. So just before you go to sleep, you read, because they're very short, you can read one note within a few minutes or less.
咁所以點講好呢？可能我呢本呢係一本幾百好嘅睡前閱讀嘅文章啦，因為頭先係好短嘅，每一篇文章大概都係幾分鐘，咁可以臨瞓前呢，咁你就睇一睇呢，咁你就可能好快睇一兩篇咁樣噶啦。
Yeah, that's about all that I can say on this book, unless we went into particular contents, but I think that's enough.
咁呢個咧就係我能夠講咧關於呢本書咧最多嘅嘢㗎啦，即係係我諗我唔會實質講入面嘅內容啦，係啦。
It's like you have full meal and you also have snacks.
咁就好似平時你食飯，你可能有個全餐嘅，咁亦都有時你會食下零食咁樣。
So these are kind of like snacks.
咁呢本就好似啲零食。一堆零食咁樣啦，呢個就。
And then this next book, Yama and Niyama, Essential Steps in Classical Yoga Applied to the Culture of Bhakti.
咁另外而家我要講嘅呢本書咧就叫做Yama 同 Niyama 啦，咁就係關於咧係一個傳統瑜伽嘅派系入面咧一啲好重要嘅過程嚟嘅。咁呢本書就係講呢個題目就係咁樣。
And this is a transcription of some talks that I gave on this subject many years ago. 咁呢
本書其實輯錄咗嘅咧，其實就係我好多年之前咧係講過呢一個題目嘅一啲講課嘅一啲記錄嚟嘅，其實就係。
Since quite a long time, I've been interested, intrigued by the classical yoga system of Patanjali.
咁呢個咧係因為咧喺之前有好長時間啦，我都咧係俾咧傳統瑜伽咧嗰個系統啦，即係 Patanjali 嗰個寫著作嘅系統咧係所吸引咧，咁而有興趣做嘅研究。
And in the yoga scene today, many people when they take some steps from simply doing the physical side of yoga to understanding philosophy of yoga, they are introduced to Patanjali's Yoga Sutras.
咁特別我哋今日見到好多嘅瑜伽嗰啲學瑜伽嗰啲人啦，其實咧如果當佢哋咧除咗係精進於佢哋做嘅嗰啲體育嗰啲動作之外咧，當佢哋對嗰個傳統嗰個瑜伽哲學有興趣嘅時候咧，通常佢哋咧就會俾人哋介紹咧去閱讀呢個Patanjali 咧嗰個體系嗰啲哲學。
And if they study Patanjali Yoga Sutras, they will find out that even before you start doing asana, there's two major steps, preparatory steps. One is called yama and the other is called niyama.
咁所以咧，如果當啲人咧好細心去閱讀 Patanjali 嘅瑜伽經嘅時候咧，會發覺當佢哋真係要做嗰啲咧唔同嘅體位嘅練習之前咧，其實佢係有兩個好重要嘅過程咧，佢哋要去學習同埋要做準備先嘅。嗰兩個咧就係一個就係 Yama， 另一個叫 Niyama 啦。
And each of these, it turns out, has 5 sub aspects. So there's yama. Yama means restraint, and then within that there's 5 sorts of restraint, and there's 5 sorts of practices, niyama.
係啦，咁而咧 Yama 同 Niyama 咧呢兩個做嘅內容入面咧，其實咧入面仲有5個分支嘅，佢哋兩個分別有 Yama 講緊嘅咧係咧要避免做一啲嘢嘅，咁然後入面會有細分咧有5個要避免做嘅嘢，咁而另外 Niyama 咧就係咧去鼓勵佢應該要精進去做嘅嘢嚟嘅。
Now, in Patanjali Yoga Sutras, there's not very much clear indication of the goal of yoga as we understand it, namely bhakti.
咁如果咧喺瑜伽經入面細讀嘅話咧，其實會發現咧，佢冇係特別咧去講到咧瑜伽嘅最終咧嗰個目的嘅，而呢個最終目的就係我哋平時成日理解嘅bhakti 嗰個。
There is mention of what is referred to as Ishvara Pranidhana, which can mean something like bhakti.
咁瑜伽經入面咧有其實提過 Ishvara Pranidhana 啦，即係呢個咧係隱約咧其實可以咧係拉到去，即係或者接近啦，我哋理解 bhakti 咁樣啦。
Is the kirtan music that's playing on the altar? Is that it?
Yes.
Yeah. I wonder. It's a little distracting, even though it's nice because it's Prabhupada, but it's makes my brain a little bit.
Two channels.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I'm trying to do in this book is to highlight how these yamas and niyamas can be important in nourishing bhakti.
咁而我要喺呢本書想做嘅咧，就係釐清翻咧點樣咧可以透過 yama 同 niyama 呢兩個步驟啦，而去咧幫助到我哋去收集 bhakti 嘅。
And all of these 5 items of yama, 5 of niyama, they're also mentioned in our bhakti literature. They're described in the Srimad Bhagavatam.
咁而其實佢哋提到嘅 yama 啦、持戒啦，同埋 niyama 啦、遵行啦，呢兩個分支入面咧，提到嘅另外嗰5個細節咧，其實喺我哋嘅聖典博伽亞談入面咧都有提及到嘅。
But they're kind of just listed, like here they are. There's ahimsa, nonviolence, satya, truthfulness, and so on.
咁但係咧喺我哋經典入面，可能佢咧只不過係列舉出嚟啦，即係可能佢會提到ahimsa 啊、非暴力啊、或者要真誠啊，即係佢係列舉出嚟咁樣嘅啫。
So the idea of this book is to unpack these ideas and show how they're connected, how they're valuable for bhakti, for devotion to Krishna.
咁所以呢本書咧就希望咧可以咧剖析咧呢一啲好詳細咁樣咧去解釋翻啦，到底呢一啲嘅元素咧係點樣可以幫助到咧我哋咧去增進我哋嘅奉愛服務。
Because again, yoga is popular nowadays. Then people are doing asana yoga. Then they want to find out more. They go to the Yoga Sutras. They find out about yamas and niyamas.
係啦，咁點解我哋要咁做咧？就係因為其實咧而家咧越嚟越多人啦，可能被瑜伽所吸引。咁當佢哋咧做嗰啲體育嗰啲體位啦，佢哋越嚟越精進，可能佢哋就會好有興趣知道翻咧嗰啲哲學，從而咧去閱讀翻瑜伽經嘅。咁而喺瑜伽經入面，佢哋亦都會接觸到咧呢兩個咧yama 同 niyama 呢兩個概念㗎啦，亦都會。
And they may understand. They may understand that yes, these yamas and niyamas, they're very important. They're foundational to successful yoga.
咁而佢哋可能之後咧就會咧理解到咧yama 啦同埋 niyama 持戒同埋遵行啦，原來呢兩個概念咧係對我哋嗰個修行啦係嗰啲好重要嘅。
But what is the goal of yoga?
咁但係瑜伽嗰個目標係乜嘢咧
？That we learn from Bhagavad Gita.
咁呢一部分咧，我哋就會喺博伽梵歌入面學到啦。
Okay, if we know that the goal of yoga is bhakti, devotion to Krishna.
咁如果我哋係從中啦知道啦，bhakti 啦奉愛啦，其實個目標咧就係為咗奉 Krishna。Then
how can we understand this connection between the foundation in yamas and niyamas and the goal.
咁如果當我哋了解到呢樣嘅時候，咁我哋就要諗一諗啦，點樣咧將我哋咧呢一個基礎啦，就係yama 同埋 niyama 呢一個基礎連結翻去呢個最終嘅目標嗰度。
So that's what we are trying to present in this book.
咁呢個咧就係我哋咧希望可以透過呢本書咧去顯示出嚟嘅內容啦。
This and the first two books and also the next one are being produced by one devotee in Croatia, Rasodadi Hari Prabhu. He's very enthusiastic to produce these books.
咁頭先我講嘅提過嘅兩本書，同埋嚟緊我會講嗰本書咧，其實就係咧喺克羅地亞一個好熱心嘅奉獻者啦，佢好踴躍咧，希望咧去做到呢啲輯錄呢啲書出嚟。
Such book like this, as I said, is from my speaking, from lecturing, that gets recorded, then that gets transcribed. That's already a lot of work.
咁都之前提過，因為其實呢啲書嘅內容大部分啦，都係我講課入面咧嗰啲講稿嚟嘅。咁佢哋咧要聽完之後啦，再聽翻啲錄音，逐隻字逐隻字寫翻呢一啲講稿出嚟輯錄嘅。
And then, especially with spoken, going from spoken to written language, it's a lot of editing required.
咁而咧要將由我講説話嘅錄音啦，再轉翻去咧逐隻字咧，其實係要需要好多咧嗰啲編錄嘅功夫咯，編輯嘅功夫喺度。
Because if you read just unedited spoken language, it's not so nice.
因為咧，如果你咧去睇翻咧，真係當時嘅，如果想聽好似錄音直接咁樣寫翻出嚟嘅字咧，其實咧係唔係太好睇嘅。
So this is work of actually several devotees who, transcribing, editing the editing, producing a book is quite a lot of work.
係啦，咁所以其實呢度講緊嘅係好多奉獻者背後做嘅一啲功夫嚟嘅，因為可能佢哋首先就係要將錄音變翻文字啦，然後又要做好多嘅編輯啦，編輯完再編輯去翻審一次啦。咁其實要出版一本書係要花好多功夫。
Okay, the next book is a collection of different things. Again, we call it Paravidya Mala. And this is volume 1.
係啦，咁之後嗰本書咧就係Padavidya Mala 係啦，咁咧其實呢本書咧係集合咗好多，又係一啲集合咗唔同好多主題嘅一啲文章嘅書嚟嘅。
Paravidya means superior knowledge.
咁 Padavidya 咧其實就係指至尊嘅知識。
And Mala means, well, this is a mala. It can mean a series.
咁mala 啦，咁例如花環都可以係一個 mala， 佢係指咧一連串咁嘅意思。咁而呢個第一卷嘅啫。
So a series of works about higher knowledge.
咁所以其實呢本書嗰個題目嘅意思就係指咧一連串咧有關呢一個至尊嘅知識嘅一啲文章係啦。
And again, this is mainly transcriptions of, in this case, seminars that I've given in the past.
咁而再一次咧，其實呢一個咧都係輯錄咗咧其實係一啲講義嚟嘅，就係我以前咧喺唔同嘅講課啦嘅時候咧嗰啲講稿。
Except for the first section, which I wrote and which we also have in Putonghua. And that is the 18 yogas of the Bhagavad Gita.
咁除咗咧第一篇咧，咁咧就係我寫嘅，真係我寫嘅文章。咁佢嘅內容主要就係講咧係博家梵歌入面嘅18項瑜伽，係啦。
As you know, Bhagavad Gita has 18 chapters.
咁我哋知道咧，其實博家梵歌咧係有18章嘅。
And you may know that each chapter has a traditional title which incorporates the word yoga.
咁而可能你哋都有留意到就係話咧，其實每一章咧都有一個傳統嘅題目，咁入面咧就會寫住咧一個特定嘅一個瑜伽嘅。
You may be surprised to know that Chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita is called the Yoga of Dejection.
Dejections.
Dejection.
OK.
Depression. Dejection.
OK. 咁你哋可能咧就都會有啲驚訝，就係咧其實博家梵歌啦第一章咧佢講嗰個瑜伽啦個題目其實就寫明咧就係有關於沮喪嘅瑜伽係啦 dejections.
Actually, correction. It's the yoga of Arjuna's dejection.
係啊更正其實係講緊咧有關於 Arjuna 嘅沮喪嘅瑜伽。
Yoga? That is yoga? Arjuna's dejection is yoga?
嚇，Arjuna 嘅抑鬱唔開心都可以係瑜伽。
Yes, because he is in a state of great disturbance which impels him to take shelter of Krishna and Krishna's instruction. So that is yoga.
係啊，因為咧原來咧當時佢嗰個極度嘅唔開心啦、沮喪啦，亦都推動咗佢咧要去託庇於 Krishna， 而呢一樣嘢咧構成咗咧就係個瑜伽。
So here my idea was just to give a very short summary of Bhagavad Gita, one chapter at a time, just a few paragraphs for each chapter, and in all cases focusing on the yoga aspect.
咁所以咧，其實我本身想寫嗰個重點咧，就係透過呢一個方式咧，去介紹博家梵歌一章一章咁樣去介紹，而每一個章節咧，呢一個簡呢個介紹咧，都係牽涉到瑜伽呢個主題入面嘅。
Because again, I think yoga is popular, so people want to. The word yoga is a household word, we say.
咁點解咧？因為其實我當時嘅目標就係因為首先咧，瑜伽係一個家傳戶曉嘅一個名詞啦，係今時今日嚟講。
So if we can help people to enter into the Bhagavad Gita, which it's quite a Prabhupada's Gita with purports. It's quite a big, thick book. So, okay, here's a quick start manual for Bhagavad Gita.
好，咁因為咧，其實我哋知道咧，聖巴布巴寫嘅博家梵歌咧，咁都有一定嘅厚度啦，係啦。咁所以咧，其實我呢個目標咧，就係咧，而家好俾一個好快嘅說明書你，等你快啲可以進入到去咧理解呢個博家梵歌。
Hare Krishna. Like when you get some new technical device, you open the box, and on the top will be a quick start instruction.
係啊，就好似平時咧，你買咗部新機翻嚟咁樣咧，上面一定會有一個薄薄嘅一張紙寫住咧快速嘅簡易說明書，等你可以快啲用到部機嘅。
First, open the box, then take the machine out of the box, then plug it in, then push the on button.
係啊，咁平時你買部新機翻嚟，可能第一個就係教你打開個盒，即係拎咗部機出嚟，跟住插線、撳掣，係啊。
Kamsai.
And press the button.
Kamsai. Yeah. So, as I said, this is also we have this in dual language with Mandarin, Putonghua.
所以咧，我而家呢本書咧，其實就有兩個語言嘅啦，已經係一個就英文啦，一個就係頭先我講國語啦，係啦，普通話咁樣，中文。
Then this volume has 3 more sections, each of which was from a seminar. The first is called The Transcendental Forms of God.
咁另外咧呢度咧其實仲有3節嘅，咁另外一節咧就係講啦主嘅超然嘅形象。
I gave this discussion also many years ago because for my own sake I wanted to understand better how all these different, quite complex, different forms of God, how to understand how they're related.
咁呢個亦都係源自於咧幾年前咧，其實咧我就好想我哋思考緊一個即係同人有個討論啦，就係、我哋點樣去理解咧主有咁多唔同種類嘅唔同嘅形象啦，我哋點樣去理解佢哋
？It's described in Chaitanya Charitamrita, especially toward the end of the Madhya Lila.
咁呢個咧其實喺主張坦耶經咧，去到Madhya Lila咧，就要係後面嘅部分咧，其實係有提到。
I don't think we included. I also made a graphic chart to make this clear. I don't think we included that in here.
其實本身咧，我係整過一張咧彩色嘅圖畫咧，有呢個咁樣嘅示意圖嘅，不過好似冇輯錄到喺呢本書度。
Maybe if we ever reprint.
如果我哋再版嘅時候，希望可以加翻。
No, we should have done that.
係啊。
I will have to speak with my editor.
我會同我嘅編輯去傾下呢件事。
The next section is a short seminar I did called The Character of Arjuna.
咁而另外一個篇節咧，其實就係我以前講過一個課啦，咁就係關於咧Arjuna 嘅品質。
And this is based on one scholarly monograph, one book written specifically on this subject, and I found it very interesting.
咁而呢個講課咧，其實佢咧係主要係嚟自於咧，因為有一個學者，佢咧其實就寫咗本書關於呢個題目嘅。我覺得好有趣。
Because the way it analyzes Arjuna as having three aspects of his character.
因為咧佢咧係咧用去剖析Arjuna啦嗰個品質啦個個性咧，其實佢用咗三個角度去寫嘅。
One aspect is his human side.
第一個角度就係佢人性化人性嗰面嘅。
Which is especially expressed in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita.
咁而呢個咧，其實喺博家梵歌嘅第一章咧，亦都已經有提及到。
Where he shows his frailty, his vulnerability, his confusion, his anxiety.
咁佢喺第一章咧，佢有形容到啦，其實就係佢有佢嘅困惑啦，佢有佢嘅脆弱啦，同埋沮喪嗰面嘅。
And another side of Arjuna is that he is a hero. He is a famous warrior.
咁但係喺另一面咧，其實佢係一個英雄嚟嘅，佢係一個好著名嘅戰士。
By the time of this battle of Kurukshetra, he's already proven himself to be a very powerful warrior.
其實當時咧去到嗰個Kurukshetra 個戰爭嘅時候啦，佢已經係一個咧證明咗佢自己仍係一個實質嘅一個英雄，一個好出名嘅戰士嚟㗎啦。
But the whole problem that the beginning of Bhagavad Gita presents makes a kind of cognitive dissonance between his humanness and his hero-ness.
但係咧，博家梵歌第一章咧嘅問題啦，就好似係咧，佢展示咗咧佢嘅嗰啲特質咧，係同佢呢個英雄嗰個特質咧係唔相符嘅。其實係好似一個割斷分裂咗咁樣嘅呢兩嘢。
And the solution, which is revealed to Arjuna, which he then enacts, the solution that's given to him by Krishna is to become a devotional hero.
咁而當時咧Krishna 俾咗個解決辦法去點樣去我哋點樣理解呢件事咧？其實係Arjuna佢可以做嘅咧，就係將佢咧轉化成為一個咧奉獻嘅一個戰士。
So that's one of the topics. Oh, there's a bank statement here.
咁呢個就係其中一個主題啦，呢個就。
That's your bookmark, I guess.
Yeah.
And let's see, the last section is studying Srimad Bhagavatam.
咁另外呢本書有個主題啦，就係講咧佢點樣閱讀學習國家雅談。
Something I've spoken about a few times, and in this case we focus on studying the first canto.
咁呢個題目其實我都已經講過幾次嘅啦。咁喺呢本書我哋主要集中講嘅就係點樣去閱讀國家雅談嘅第一卷。
Sometimes, because this is from transcription, so at the end of my speaking we have questions and answers.
咁因為咧呢本書其實好似頭先所講，可以輯錄嗰啲講課嘅一啲講義嚟嘅，咁所以咧去到最嬲尾嘅時候閱讀嘅時候，你會發現咧佢會有一啲咧 Q&A 嘅問答嗰啲記錄喺度嘅。
Q&A. This is international language.
Yes， 係呢個 Q&A 呢個字係而家國際通用嘅呢個 terms。
So sometimes the question is inaudible, and therefore it'll say question, and then in parentheses, not audible, and then answer, and it gives an answer.
係咁，所以咧就有啲有趣嘅，因為呢一個係將錄音變翻文字，咁所以你可能睇嗰部分嘅問答環節咧，有陣時會見到咧嗰個聽眾嗰個問題咧會寫住咧不能錄取，係啦，因為錄唔到音當時。咁但係下面就會一大段咧講師傅點樣回答呢一條問題嘅。
One comment we got at the end of discussing study of Srimad Bhagavatam, one comment was, I find it terribly heavy to read any of Srila Prabhupada's books.
咁呢個好有趣，嗰次嘅講課咧，咁去到最後咧有一個評價咧出咗嚟嘅，咁咧嗰個人就話啦，我發覺咧我每次睇聖巴布巴寫嘅著作啦，都覺得好沉重。
And my start of the answer, I said, you find it difficult to read Srila Prabhupada's books? How long have you been trying?
咁我嗰陣時我就回答啦，就話你覺得睇聖巴布巴啲書好困難啊？你嘗試咗幾耐啊
？And then he answers, or she answers, 6 years.
咁當時佢就答啦，試咗6年啊。
Then I say, therefore, maybe you should try some of these suggestions that we have been making and see if that helps.
咁如果係咧，你就應該聽下我哋俾嘅一啲建議，睇下會唔會幫到你。
And then I speak about the Vaishnav Institute of Higher Education.
咁於是當時我就有介紹到啦，關於Vaishnava 啦，一啲高等教育嘅學員啦。
And how they composed, they means actually it was Burijan Prabhu, composed questions which one can be asking oneself while reading. 咁當時啦，咁我就話呢個學院嘅啲負責人主要就係 Burijan Prabhu 啦。咁其實佢哋就輯錄咗有一啲咧內容問答啦，就係等佢哋可以咧睇到啲問題咧，咁去教佢哋咧點樣去理解同埋回答翻嘅。 And then I go on to say, anyway, just keep reading.
咁總之最後嘅結論就係你繼續睇落去，係啦，繼續閱讀。
But then I say, actually, the whole point is we should think about what we read.
咁但係個重點其實咧就係我哋學習嘅時候應該咧要諗下就係到底我哋而家讀緊嘅係啲乜嘢嚟。
Yeah, and then if there's something we don't understand, we should ask, what does this mean?
如果我哋睇嘅時候覺得唔明，其實我哋應該要去問到底佢哋點解呢啲嘢。
And then I say, in any case, we should feel that these books, Srila Prabhupada's books, are our shelter. They are our friends.
咁而我哋嘅心情咧，其實就係我哋應該咧視聖巴布巴嘅呢啲著作啦，為於我哋嘅託庇嘅場所，佢係我哋嘅朋友。
And then I tell about, I guess it was a radio show, where they ask a question, if you were stranded on an uninhabited island with one book, what book would you choose?
咁另外呢本書有提到一次咧，我上去一個電台節目嘅時候啦，咁有條問題咁就係話，如果咧你被困喺一個荒島度啦，你可以帶一本書，你會帶咩書？
What book would you choose?
啊，咁你哋又會揀咩書咧？如果困咗一個荒島，可以帶一本書同你陪你。
Adventure storybook.
A storybook? I didn't hear.
An adventure storybook.
An adventure storybook.
You're an island by yourself.
Okay. Who? What else? Anyone else?
哇！
Bhagavatam. He's safe answer, right?
博家雅談啊，呢博家
Talking about Bhagavatam, he probably wants us to say Srimad
如
Bhagavatam.
果答博家雅談，好似係一個安全嘅答案啦，係咪 ？12。
Krishna book.
但
Okay.
Krishna book 啦，即係講 Krishna 逍遙時光。
Anyone else? Yes.
救自己嘅書，
啊
幫到嗰度。
Self-help book that save oneself on an island。
A self-help. Yeah, that's practical, huh?
好實際啊！
How to save an island by yourself. Anyway, my answer was I wouldn't want just one book. I would want 4 books.
佢話：咁當時我答就話：我唔想淨係帶一本，我想帶4本啊！
That's cheating, I know.
當然啦，我知我作弊嘅。咁咧大概就係咁樣啦。
There's a second volume coming very soon.
咁啊，第二冊就嚟出啦。
It's waiting for me to write the introduction.
因為而家等緊我去寫個序啦，幫嗰本。
But it's similarly collection of different things that we have given lectures and so on.
咁但嗰本書其實都係講翻我喺唔同嘅地方講課啦，嗰啲講義嚟嘅。
Okay, 3 books. Then to the Chinese books. Yeah, let's take this one first.
好，咁而家到講一講中文嘅書啦。
Krishna-ksetra, otherwise, what is it?
咁服務 Krishna 啦，呢本書就係講 Krishna-ksetra。
Yeah. The Krishna-ksetra, traditional ritual in the practice of Bhakti Yoga.
咁就係講服務 Krishna 啦，副題咧就係講傳統嘅一啲儀式點樣喺現代我哋做奉愛服務嗰度執行。
And as I mentioned, this is dual language.
咁我有講過啦，呢本書其實就係雙語嘅，有英有中。
This was essentially my dissertation for my master's degree in the study of religion.
咁基本上咧，其實呢一本書咧輯錄嘅咧就係我嘅碩士論文嚟嘅，畢業嘅時候嘅。
Which I wrote at my institution, the Graduate Theological Union in Berkeley, California.
咁當時就係我喺北克萊大學啦，咁就係神學嗰個系入面咧，咁我嗰個宗教研究嗰個碩士課程嘅畢業論文。
Which was a 2-year course I completed in 1998.
咁呢個就係我1998年咧，當時完成咗呢個2年嘅課程。
25 years ago.
已經係25年前啦。
Whoa. Yeah, so devotees were inspired to translate it, and then they were inspired, let's get it published in Putonghua.
咁奉獻者佢哋咧就將佢想將佢輯錄成書啦，咁而家就翻譯成普通話啦。
And I was very, very happy that we were able to get this published through Yunnan University Press.
咁其實我都好開心，因為咧我哋而家係透過雲南大學咧出版呢本書嘅，其實係。
Because there's one editor in Yunnan University Press who was very enthusiastic. Yes, let's publish this book.
咁因為咧當時間大學出版社啦，咁入面有一個人咧，佢係好踴躍支持咧，就好想出版呢本書啦。
So he managed somehow or other, he managed to get the official approval. Because in China there needs to be stamp of approval from the government.
咁所以咧，佢亦都成功攞到咧官方咧嗰個許可啦，去出版嘅。因為喺中國啦，你要有官方啦政府嘅認可咧，先可以出版呢啲咁嘅書嘅。
He said it was a miracle.
咁佢講翻佢話都係個奇蹟嚟嘅。
But okay, they accepted. And we did it in dual language because we thought, well, maybe some who are Chinese readers, they'll want to also, maybe they know English also, and they want to see what is the original English. So they get both.
咁因為我哋都嗰陣時諗緊，可能有啲中國嘅讀者啦，佢哋都會有興趣睇翻原文咧，英文係點樣寫，咁所以咧最後咧就決定咧係用雙語嘅形式出版。
So the subject is the deity, the process of deity worship, like we have here in the temple.
咁呢個主旨咧，其實就係講緊咧我哋點樣去做嗰個神像服務，就好似我哋而家廟度會做嘅行為一樣。
And what I did here was to explain it in terms of theology and philosophy of Krishna consciousness.
咁而我喺度做嘅咧，就係我將呢一啲活動啦，去用翻呢一個神學上面嘅角度咧，去寫翻呢樣嘢咧，去點樣去做到嗰個服務。
You've all seen this book already?
點樣去做一個 Krishna 知覺嗰個活動
？Chinese readers here.
你哋有冇見過呢一個？
So that was the first book we did, and then the next one.
咁呢本係第一本嘅中文啦。咁
translated by
Gopi Krishna and also Prema Sarovara worked on it. Yeah. Yeah. Aarti is coming. Shri Shri Gauranitai Ki Jai. Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Pishe Namaha. So, in a similar way, we did this book called Advancing Across the Great River, Reflections on Yoga Philosophy and Cross-Cultural Comparison.
咁而第二本嘅中文書咧，個書名就叫做《涉越大川》，係即係河川嘅川。咁咧就係儒家哲學反思與跨文化嘅比較研究。
And this is an effort to, again, help people to enter into the Bhagavad Gita.
咁而再一次啦，其實咧，我哋希望透過呢本書咧，去幫人可以進入去博家梵歌。
Where the first part is what I already described, the 18 yogas, a summary of each chapter.
咁而第一章咧，其實就係好似頭先我哋所講嗰個，就係話將博家梵歌18個章節咧，每一個咧去聯繫於一個儒家咧呢一個角度去講述博家梵歌。
And this time we included 4 essays, articles, which I wrote over some period of time, some years, different times.
咁而入面咧，亦都包咗咧4篇文章咧，係我喺過去幾年咧寫嘅文章。
The first one, I think it's not the first. one article I wrote when I was teaching here at Chinese University.
咁其中一篇文章係我喺中大教書嘅時候寫嘅。
If you like to come up front, I was invited to take part in a conference in Beijing at Peking University.
咁當時我喺度任教嘅時候，有一次咧就被邀請咧去北京大學嗰邊咧去講一講座。
In the Department of Philosophy, they were having a conference on the subject of experience, religious experience.
咁當時咧喺佢哋嗰個哲學系入面咧，佢哋想搞咗個講座啦，咁就係講咧點樣去體驗experience 體驗宗教。
And so I thought, well, what can I say?
當時我諗下可以講啲咩咧？
What can I give as a presentation? So I decided to focus on the idea of experience in Bhagavad Gita.
咁當時我諗咗講咩時候啦，最後我決定咗咧就係講點樣去體驗咧博家梵歌。
And the title of this article is The Experience of Authority and the Authority of Experience.
咁最後呢個題目咧就變咗係咧點樣去體驗呢個權威 authority，而亦都係一個權威性講點樣去體驗。
And then subtitle, The Bhagavad Gita in Dialogue with Modern Religious Experience Discourse.
咁個副題啦就係講緊咧博家梵歌啦，點樣咧喺一個對話當中咧同現代宗教咧係有呢個聯繫對話嘅。
And this was basically just a quite basic introduction to Bhagavad Gita.
咁而呢一篇文章講緊嘅係一個非常之基本嘅講關於博家梵歌嘅簡述。
But doing so with, you could say, slightly academic language.
咁但係咧，我就用咗好多學術語言去講咯。
And focusing on the idea of experience.
同埋我好強調講緊咧體驗呢一部分嘅。
And it can be an interesting exercise. You have some question like this in your mind. In my mind was the question, what does Krishna say about experience?
咁當時其實呢個係一個好好嘅思想練習，大家都可以嘗試嘅。而喺我當時我去做嘅時候，我係諗緊呢條問題，就係、到底咧 Krishna 啦係點樣去講述咧體驗嘅喺呢個博家梵歌入面經驗呢一樣嘢。
And it becomes a way to kind of open up in this case, the Bhagavad Gita in a sort of fresh way. You can get fresh understanding.
用呢種思想方式嘅方法呢個實驗咧，其實就可以咧用唔同嘅角度，好新鮮咁樣咧去再重新咧審閱一次咧博家梵歌嘅教導。
And I would say, more generally, this is for me an important reason why I like to write.
咁亦都呢個係咧解釋咗其實點解我好中意寫作。
Because in writing, you have to think very clearly.
因為寫作過程咧，你要咧思想好清晰嘅，頭腦清晰。
You have to think clearly and then communicate so that it will be understood what you're trying to say.
咁你要諗得好清，頭腦好清晰啦，諗得好清晰，你先知道咧你想講啲乜嘢。
And so you have to keep going back and asking yourself, do I understand myself what I'm trying to say?
所以你成日咧去咧回憶即係反思翻啦，到底我知唔知自己講緊啲乜嘢嘅？
And in this way you kind of force yourself to clarify ideas.
咁亦都咁樣咧係逼自己咧要去釐清翻呢一啲概念。
Another article I wrote, when did I write this? This was, I wrote this earlier. This is a kind of comparison. There's a whole area of study of religion called comparative religion.
咁而另外一篇文章我講嘅咧就係另一個主題嚟嘅。咁因為喺咧研究宗教面咧有一個比較大嘅主題叫做比較宗教。
So I was thinking, can we make some comparison between what Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita and what the Christians are saying in their teachings?
咁所以當時我就喺度諗啦，我可唔可以寫啲關於咧 Krishna 嘅教導啦，同埋咧基督教嘅教導嘅分別嘅？
And there's been a lot of scholarship in this area of comparing. Thank you. Comparing Christianity and Hinduism, like that.
咁其實咧喺呢一個比較宗教研究入面咧，有好多嘅學者咧，亦都係已經參與咗呢一種研究嘅。特別係咧係關於印度教啦同埋基督教咧呢一個宗教比較研究入面。
So this article is called "The Song of God as Journey of Discipleship."
咁而我呢篇文章嘅題目咧叫做就係神之歌，作為一個門徒嘅一個旅程。
Because in the Christian tradition, there's a very strong idea of, they don't use the word guru, but they do use the word disciple. So teacher-disciple relationship is there.
咁因為咧喺基督教個傳統入面啦，雖然佢哋唔會強調 guru 靈性導師呢一個字，但其實咧佢哋咧門徒呢一個字係非常之常用喺佢哋嗰個哲學入面咧，其實係有一個好強烈嘅講於教師一個同埋門徒咧個關係嘅。
So when you make any kind of comparison, you have three elements. You have the two things being compared, and you have a third something, usually it's some abstract idea that you're comparing these two with respect to.
咁通常咧，如果做呢個比較嘅研究咧，其實一定有三個元素做。首先就係有兩樣嘢你要比較先啦。另外第三樣嘢咧就係有一個主題去包攬咗、貫穿翻咧呢兩個你想比較嘅係啲乜嘢。
So this is one small example of how a comparison might be done.
咁所以我呢篇文章就簡單示範一下咧，到底點樣可以做一個咧比較嘅一個研究嘅思想。
Well, then I thought it may be interesting if I can do some comparison between Bhagavad Gita and some Buddhist ideas.
咁當時咧，於是我就有興趣就想做一個咧，就係睇下博家梵歌啦，同埋一啲咧佛教嘅一啲經典咧嘅比較。
Usually when we speak about Krishna consciousness, we like to condemn Buddhism in all respects.
因為咧，通常我哋講緊咧Krishna 知覺嘅時候咧，其實咧有陣時好慣常咧，就係我哋會去咧批判咧佛教嗰啲教義嘅陣時。
We like to say they got it all wrong.
我哋通常都會慣咗咁講，get 錯晒啊佢哋。
So, okay, yes, maybe, but maybe not.
咁可能係或者可能唔係啊。
Maybe there's something that we can appreciate from Buddhist tradition. So I had to do some reading to learn about Chinese Buddhism specifically, because this is for a Chinese audience.
咁當時咁我就睇下啦，或者可能我哋可以喺佛教嘅一啲教義入面咧揾到一啲我哋可以欣賞嘅地方。咁於是當時我就做咗一啲閱讀嘅喺佛教方面。咁特別咧係強調緊係中國佛教嘅嗰個啦，因為呢個書嘅對象係俾中國嘅讀者睇。
Then I came across this very interesting, very short presentation from Bodhidharma.
咁然後咧，我好有趣地咧，我咧就閱讀到咧一個好短嘅短篇咧嘅教導啦，係由咧Bodhidharma 咧佢哋嘅著作寫嘅。
It's called in English, it's called the Four Entrances. The Four Entrances.
The Four Entrances。咁咧嘅菩提達摩嘅教義入面啦，就係講咧Four Entrances 點啊？四尊堂啊。四聖諦。哦，應該係四聖諦可能係。
I guess I can show you what it is in Chinese here.
OK，
So there's 4.
不是應該不是。
Well,
可能
there's
是
4. It's 4 paragraphs,
哦，佢係有4段嘅呢一個。
which are his essential explanation of what is how one should meditate.
咁而呢4段咧，其實咧就係咧佢嘅教義入面嘅精華啦。佢主要係教導人咧點樣去做個冥想。
Do you want to read the first one in
OK， 好
Chinese?
好四行觀啊，係啦，係咁第一段啦，咁就師傅叫我讀，咁就係菩提達摩嘅第一行語解釋，叫做報冤行，冤枉嘅冤，遭受不公正嘅遭遇。何謂報冤行？所謂修道行人若受苦時，當自憐言：我往昔無數劫中，棄本從未，流浪諸有，多起怨憎，危害無限。今雖無犯，是我宿怨惡業果屬，非天非人所能見與。今生今壽都無怨數。經曰：逢苦不憂何以故？達色故，此時心時與理相應。體冤盡道，故說言報冤行。
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's very Asian text a bit.
Classical Chinese.
Yeah.
Classical Chinese, yeah. So I took these 4, they're called entrances in some translation. I took them and discussed them in relation to Bhagavad Gita.
咁當時咧，其實佢即係講嘅係4個教導啦，即係一個好即係基礎嘅教導。當時咁我就攞咗呢一部咧，好簡單佢嘅教義咧，咁就去比較點樣喺博家梵歌咧，可能都有關乎到佢嘅呢一啲教導嘅。
And my first aim is to show similarities. Instead of showing difference, we can show similarity.
咁我第一步咧就與其咧係強調嗰個分野之前咧，其實我係想講咧，當兩者有啲咩相似嘅地方。
We're getting all so much mercy from
Yes.
Gordon.
Holy water.
Holy water.
聖水啊，我哋好多仁慈。
We will never be the same.
我哋從此有個好大改變嘅。
Okay, and then the final article that we included in this book is called Advancing Across the Great River with the Help of Bhagavad Gita.
咁最後尾咧，呢一本書最後尾嗰個章節咧，其實就係講跨越大川，如何精進，如何透過博家梵歌而進步。
With a subtitle, The Song of Bhagavan and the I Ching.
咁咧其實就係講咧博家梵之歌啦，同譯經。
You call it I Ching?
Yeah, the literature 譯經。
I Ching. I Ching. So I took a translation of the Yiging. Actually, I took 2 translations, and I found some of the diagrams very interesting and how they were explained. And I thought, here's something we can also relate to the Bhagavad Gita.
咁當時咧，我就揀咗2個有關於譯經嘅2段翻譯。咁我發覺咧，咦幾有趣喎！咁就將佢寫翻咧，到底佢同博家梵歌，即係我哋點樣去理解呢一件事，點樣關係
？Yeah, so this was, of course, completely depending. I was depending on translations, which is not the best way to do comparison. A proper a good sort of scholarly translation, I would first have to be quite knowledgeable in ancient Chinese.
但咧，因為咧，我今次寫呢篇文嗰陣，其實我係要全程去靠人哋嘅翻譯嘅，即係點樣去翻譯譯經。咁呢個咧，其實喺我哋嗰個宗教研究比較研究咧，就唔係最好，因為如果根據傳統咧，就應該我首先要學咗古代嘅中國語文，咁去理解呢個經文。
But okay, make the best use of a bad bargain, Prabhupada said.
咁但正如巴布巴講啦，係盡你有嘅手頭上嘅嘢，即係盡量去做到最好嘅結果啦。咁。
And also, I used 2 different translations, not just one. So between the 2, I could get some idea.
咁同埋我就唔係淨係用一個版本嘅翻譯，我用咗2個版本嘅翻譯。咁希望喺2個版本之間，我盡量可以貼近到個原意，即係揾到即係諗到啲意義嘅。
2 more things we included in this book, 2 appendices. The first is an annotated bibliography of Bhagavad Gita translations in Chinese.
咁而喺個附錄度啦，有2個附錄，其中個附錄就係講咧博家梵歌啦，佢嗰個中譯咧，佢嗰啲嘅一啲評注。
I wanted to be a little bit non-sectarian.
咁我就本身咧寫嘅時候咧，咁我就有少少咧係非宗教非排他性嘅，係啊，有少少嗌行性派系性係。
So 2 devotees, Chinese devotees, were very helpful in doing the research to find all of the translations. Some of these, there's I think 2 translations of the Bhagavad Gita that were done by Chinese Sanskritists directly from the Sanskrit.
咁其實我喺呢度寫嗰啲書引用嘅時候咧，其實咧係用咗2本博家梵，即係用咗幾個版本嘅。其中一個版本咧就係呢一個博家梵嗰個版本，其實係中國嘅人啦，佢直接喺梵文直接翻譯出嚟嘅一個版本嚟嘅。
So there's one translation by Xu Fangchen.
咁其中有一個書啊，咁另外有即係頭先有呢個中國人啦，佢做嘅翻譯版本嚟嘅，呢個就係翻譯者蘇房真。
He was a Sanskritist, and he finished his translation while living in India in 1950.
咁呢一個中國人咧，其實佢係一個梵文學家，佢係咧50年代嘅時候喺印度咧做完呢一個翻譯嘅博家梵嗰個翻譯。
And it's been reprinted several times.
咁而呢個版本咧，應該係已經咧再版咗幾次㗎啦，已經係。
And of course, we include the translation of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami.
咁當然啦，我哋亦都有包括，一定有包括就係聖恩巴布巴嘅版本嘅博家梵歌啦。
Actually, 2 versions. There's one that was done by Janava Devi, and one by an unknown translator.
咁而另外一個咧係Janava Devi 咧做嘅幫巴布巴嘅博家梵歌做嘅中譯本，另一個咧係唔知邊個奉獻者幫巴布巴嘅版本做嘅翻譯本，係其實有2本博家梵歌中譯本係由巴布巴嘅，呢今次我哋用到。
There's also a translation by Sudasa.
Sudasa.
Siddhadeha Prabhu, yes.
OK。咁另外一個內地奉獻者又係即係佢幫手做翻譯嘅版本都包喺呢度在內。而家講緊嘅係附錄入面，即係我哋用嘅文獻嗰個出處喺邊度？
Oh, there's a third. There's a third translation. Oh, there's so many translations of Prabhupada's. There's one by Li Jianlin and Yang Pei Min. I don't know. Anyway, so this is, we tried to list all the available Bhagavad Gitas in Chinese.
係啊，咁我哋喺個附錄度，我哋希望盡量咧列舉晒咧有嘅唔同嘅博家梵歌中譯本嘅版本出嚟。
And the last appendix is excerpts from Bhagavad Gita as it is, both in English and Chinese.
咁而最後附錄啦，就係咧輯錄咗一啲博家梵歌原意啦嘅中譯本啦，嗰個中英譯嘅嗰啲直接嘅輯錄。
I thought I thought we did 2 different translations.
So many versions.
Okay. We were going to include... Oh, here it is. Yeah. So there's... I don't know. Anyway, we included something from chapters 1 to... Yeah, some excerpts. Just excerpts from the Gita. But I thought we also included from one of the original Chinese from Sanskrit.
OK， 係啊，咁我附錄嗰度就有好多直接博家梵歌嘅一啲直接語錄。咁除咗博家梵歌原意，好似應該仲有一個係中文版，另外一個版本嘅博家梵歌嘅輯錄。
So this is also published by Yunnan University Press by an enthusiastic editor.
咁另外咧，呢本書亦都似頭先所講，係雲南大學一個好熱心嘅一個出版嘅編輯啦，幫我哋出版嘅。
Who said it will be a miracle if we can get this approved, and he got it approved.
係啊，咁佢亦都曾經講過，就係話，如果我哋能夠得到官方嘅認證咧，會有一個神蹟啊。不過佢最後又得到呢個認證啦。係啊，奇蹟。
Yes, miracles do happen.
奇蹟係會發生嘅。
Even in China.
即使喺中國。I will edit this out from the video, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we don't want anyone to be disturbed.
Yes.
This one we discussed yesterday, so I won't go into this now.
咁另外呢本書啦，因為我哋尋日已經咧係詳細咁討論過啦，咁所以我哋而家就唔好詳細再講一次。
Except to say this is one of 2 volumes.
咁但係可能補充咧，就係其實咧佢係有2冊嘅，呢個第一冊，即係其中一冊嚟嘅啫。
Because the publisher is an academic publisher in America, Columbia University Press. When we proposed this book,
咁因為呢本書嘅出版商咧，其實係喺哥倫比亞大學嗰個大學出版社嚟嘅。咁當時我哋咧就提議啦，要出版呢本書嘅時候。
Because it's a collection of articles about the Bhagavatam.
咁因為呢個咧係輯錄咗唔同咧關於博家雅談嘅一啲文章。
The publisher said, "Well, it's very nice proposal, but where is the Bhagavatam for which these articles are meant to help one read? Where this is about the Bhagavatam. Where's the Bhagavatam for reading for people?"
咁因為咁嗰陣時個出版社個評語啦，就係話都好好啊，有啲咁樣嘅文章。不過你啲文寫嘅係關於博家雅談，咁嗰啲寫幫人去理解博家雅談嘅閱讀指南嘅嗰啲文章去邊呢？
We could have said, well, there's Srila Prabhupada's multi-volume Bhagavatam.
咁當時我哋其實可以選擇回答，巴布巴已經有12卷嘅博家雅談寫咗出嚟㗎啦。
But this would not have satisfied them.
但如果我咁講咧，佢哋就會唔滿意嘅。
Because they want something that's accessible for, especially like university students. They're not going to buy the whole set of Prabhupada's books. They're not going to read them. So where is a 1-volume Bhagavatam?
咁但係咧，因為佢哋嘅原意就係咧，啲班大學生唔會睇晒嗰12本㗎啦。咁有冇方法可以揾本精華嘅出嚟，就係一本講晒成個博家雅談嘅出嚟嘅咧？咁樣。
So the publisher said, "Why don't you do 2 books? We will publish 2 books. We'll do this, and you also prepare a 1-volume Bhagavatam."
咁於是當時係話好啦，我幫你出2本，一本就係講博家雅談嘅內容研究，另一本咧就係將博家雅談濃縮到得一本書嘅版本。
We were thrilled.
咁我哋好興奮啦。
It's not every day that you propose a book to a publisher and the publisher comes back and says, "Why 1 book? Why not 2 books?"
係啦，因為好難得咧，你通常去俾本書出版社咧，你同佢出一本，跟住同佢講點解你淨係出一本啊？你出2本啊嘛，應該好難得嘅呢個機會。
So we did, over the next few years, a translation, our own translation from the Sanskrit, of selections from each of the 12 cantos, approximately 10% of the entire Bhagavatam.
咁於是接下嚟嗰幾年咧，我哋咧就係咧喺博家雅談咧輯錄咗一啲段數，咁大概其實即係成套嘅一成左右嘅啫。咁咧就係輯錄咗咧一啲詩節出嚟，我哋直接喺梵文嗰度咧翻譯翻出嚟咧做英文嘅。
And then we made summaries, very, very, very compact summaries of all the parts that we did not translate, so that it's all connected between one section translated and the next section translated. We had a summary of what's in between.
咁而咧喺呢啲我哋選段嘅段與段之間咧，中間嗰啲我哋冇直接翻譯到嗰啲咧，我哋就寫咗一個非常之精簡嘅簡要連結翻呢個段落咁樣去。
And then we had a final section in which we wrote 4 short essays explaining how, with 4 selected passages of the Bhagavatam, how the commentators commented on those sections.
咁然後咧，我哋最嬲尾呢本書咧係有4篇文章嘅，就係講翻咧呢一啲選段嘅入面咧，因為嗰啲評論即係評注呢啲選段嗰啲寫法，我哋去簡要翻呢啲評注係寫咗啲乜嘅。
So this is called the Bhagavata Purana Sacred Text and Living Tradition. The other book is the Bhagavata Purana Selected Readings.
咁所以我哋其實有2本，而家我哋見到呢本咧就係博家梵往世書神聖嘅神聖嘅詩節，咁但係另外一本咧就係講咧係選段係啦，咁啊第2本嘅出版就係會講嗰個。
Okay, we're gradually getting to the end.
係，我哋終於接近尾聲啦！我哋呢一個今日嘅講座。
This book, Cow Care in Hindu Animal Ethics, was published in the beginning of 2020.
咁咧就係呢本書係2020年初咧嗰陣時寫嘅，就係咧保護照顧牛隻啦，從印度教嘅動物倫理學中睇點樣去保護牛隻。
And this book we were able to get published open access.
咁我哋咧其實咧當時係攞到咧open access 啦呢一個嘅支持去出版嘅。
Which means for English readers, until we have a Putonghua translation, for English readers you can download a digital copy of the book free of charge, legally.
係啦 ，open access 係咩咧？其實就係外國一個計劃，咁咧就係如果你攞到佢個支援嘅話咧，基本上所有英語嘅讀者啦，佢哋咧就可以免費下載呢本書嘅電子版嘅啦。
So this book is about cows.
呢本書就係關於牛嘅。
And someone may wonder what I'm doing writing about cows.
咁啲人可能諗緊啊，點解你要寫牛嘅？
Well, I became interested in cows quite many years ago because I was staying in Germany at our farm community, which we still have in southeast Germany, Singachalam. And at that time, we had about 20 cows there.
咁點解我會有興趣咧？其實都已經係好多年㗎啦，因為咧我好長時間啦，其實就係留喺德國啦、東南部啦，而家呢個農莊都繼續運作緊嘅咁就係由奉獻者嘅一個農莊打理入面有
around 20 cows.
咁就大概有20幾隻牛左右嘅嗰度。
Now they have I think 5 or 6.
咁而家可能少咗啲牛嘅數量喺入面就。
But to me it was interesting because Srila Prabhupada in his writings and speaking was very, very much emphasizing the importance of protecting cows.
咁點解我中意呢個我有興趣呢個題目咧？因為聖巴布巴咧喺佢唔同嘅教導入面，其實都有好強調提到就係話咧牛嗰個重要性嘅，要保護牛嘅重要性。
I remember when I was a small child, our school class, we were taken to a dairy.
咁我好記得我細個嘅時候啦，有一次學校咧就係帶我哋咧去一個農場嗰度。
Where they process milk.
咁就係講佢哋點樣咧去處理牛奶嘅。
And it was, you know, it was interesting. It was nice to see how milk and milk products are produced, or how they're prepared for sale in the markets.
Sorry， 唔係農場，牛奶商。咁其實幾有趣嘅，可以睇到咧，到底嗰啲牛奶製品啦，佢哋點樣咧係由生產啦至到變成一個商品咧去賣出去嘅過程。
But one thing they didn't tell us when I was a child visiting there is that when the cows are older and no longer giving milk, or actually when they give less milk, what do they do with those cows? They send them to the slaughterhouse.
咁但當時細個啦，佢哋冇同我哋講嘅就係咧，原來當啲牛啦，佢哋再生產唔到牛奶啊，或者佢哋嘅產量越嚟越少啦，產牛奶嘅量越嚟越少咧，佢哋就會送啲牛去屠宰㗎啦。
And what do they do with the male cows, the bulls, when they're born? They're sent right away to the slaughterhouse.
咁而公牛其實當時點處理咧？原來公牛咧其實就唔使諗，直接去送去屠宰㗎啦。基本上呢啲牛就。
So many years later, when I met the devotees and Prabhupada was speaking about cow protection, Go Raksha, I thought this is very interesting.
咁所以咧，當後嚟見到即係巴布巴佢哋喺度講好多關於保護牛嘅時候，咁我就覺得好有趣啦呢個題目。
So Prabhupada wrote some things about it briefly. Some devotees have written some articles and books about cow protection. And of course, we have farms where we have cows, different parts of the world.
咁所以啦，巴布巴啦、奉獻者啦，其實佢哋都分別寫過唔同嘅文章咧，佢關於呢個題目。而我哋亦都有唔同嘅農莊咧，其實係有牛，即係養牛嘅。
Actually, we have worldwide in ISKCON at present around 5,000 cows.
咁其實如果咧，我哋喺我哋 ISKCON 嘅管理下面啦，全球嚟計咧，其實喺 ISKCON 管理下面，大概我哋係照顧緊有5000多嘅牛嘅。
About 4,000 of those are in India, different Goshalas.
咁而其中咧4000頭嘅呢啲牛咧，被 ISKCON 照顧啲，其實大部分集中喺印度。
And the rest, some are in USA, some in Europe, other places.
而其他嗰啲就分佈喺可能美國啊或者歐洲咁樣。
So that's nice, but if you consider that every 60 minutes, approximately 34,000 cows are slaughtered worldwide, then 5,000 is not so much.
咁但當你如果知道其實個數據啦，其實每一個鐘可能有34000頭牛咧係被屠宰嘅時候咧，咁你就可能會發覺啊，原來 ISKCON 照顧嗰5000隻牛都唔係真係好多嘅啫。
So research always starts with a question.
咁做研究通常就會係由一條問題出發先嘅。
And for me, the driving question was, is there something we could better understand about cows and cow protection that would help us to expand the practice of cow protection in our society?
咁當時我就喺度諗咧，有啲咩咧我哋可以認識更加多關於牛啦，同埋保護牛隻嘅一啲嘅知識，令到我哋可以擴展咧我哋呢啲去保護牛嘅呢一個活動嘅。
But I came to have the sense that what's really needed is a broader appreciation of cow protection amongst the what Prabhupada called the intelligent class of people.
咁但係我好快就了解到啦，就係、其實咧，好似巴布巴之前所講咧，如果我哋要能夠成功做到啲保護牛隻咧，首先第一樣嘢就係我哋要令到嗰啲知識分子啦，嗰、個階層嘅人咧，佢哋了解到咧點解要做呢個保護牛隻。
Anyway, that's a bigger subject, but opportunity came as I was given opportunity in Oxford to give some talks at the Oxford Centre for Animal Ethics.
咁但係咧機會終於嚟啦，就係、咧我喺牛津嘅印度嗰個宗教研究所嗰度啦，咁佢就去俾咗機會我去講呢、一個動物倫理呢一個題目嘅。
There I got to know some very dedicated people dedicated to promoting care of animals instead of the killing of animals.
咁我好幸運喺呢個機會度啦，就可以有機會認識有好多人咧，其實係好致力於咧去保護呢啲動物嘅，而唔係淨係諗點樣去殺啲動物。
And the director of that center invited me to write a book for his book series on Hinduism and animal ethics, and I said, what if I would write specifically on cows and Hinduism and animal ethics? And he said, yes, great, do it. So I did.
咁當時嗰、個主辦人啦，咁因為佢哋咧就邀請我咧去寫關於咧動物嗰個倫理學嘅呢一啲書，咁於是我就提議，不如我係集中寫牛啦、保護牛啦，同埋呢一個印度宗教嘅動物倫理觀。咁佢話好，無任歡迎。
So the result is this book. It was 2 years of research and writing. I visited a few goshalas in North India, did some interviewing, a lot of reading, and I put together this book.
咁所以我用咗大概2年嘅時間做呢個研究啦。咁我去咗印度好多嘅 goshalas 嗰啲牛棚嗰度啦，咁訪問咗好多嘅人咧，關於點樣去保護照顧牛嘅。
But as I was researching, I was feeling, oh, this is really a very huge topic, and I can only, we say in English, I can only scratch the surface.
咁但咧後尾喺我一路做咗研究就發覺其實呢個係一個好大嘅議題啦，我只能夠咧係喺個表面嗰度嘅啫，即係我做到嘅都係仲係停留喺。
But okay, let me scratch the surface and maybe someone else will be inspired to go deeper.
咁但係我就諗，唔緊要啦，我淨係做表面嗰陣啦，希望有人可以再更加做得更加深入啦，即係將來受到啟發。
So the first chapter is called The Release of Cosmic Cows.
咁第一章咧就係講啦，去咧釋放呢一個宇宙嘅牛嘅解放。
It's about cows in Vedic literature.
咁佢講嘅咧其實係喺偉達文獻入面嘅牛。
Cows are referred to more than 700 times in the Rig Veda.
咁喺印度嘅文獻啦 ，Rig Veda 啦入面咧，其實咧佢係700 times， 咁咧係有被講到提到700次嘅，係關於牛。
And they're referred to in the Upanishads, in the Mahabharata, in the Ramayana, in of course the Bhagavatam.
咁而喺好多其他印度嘅經典著作入面啦，博加雅談啦，特別尤其是啦，或者係好多Mahabharata、Ramayana 即係唔同嘅史詩，其實都有提到牛噶。
But just listing references, that's not going to be very useful for anyone.
咁但係對其他人嚟講，如果我淨喺度不停喺度提咧，啲牛喺邊啲文獻嘅出處有提到，其實就冇乜幫助。
There has to be some analysis, there has to be some argument.
咁要有啲分析啦，有啲辯論啦。
In academic writing, basically what you're doing is saying, they say X, Y, or Z, I say A, B, and C.
基本上咧，如果你要做學術嘅文章寫作，基本上個框架大概都只會就係話，有人就講咗 A 甲乙丙丁咁多嘢，不過我咧就會話1、2、3、4呢一堆嘢咁樣。
So that's what I try to do in the book in general. Essentially, the book as a whole, I try to make a case that it is possible to expand cow protection if we have understanding of the challenges and the importance, the challenges, and what is being done now and what could be done in the future.
咁基本上我本書其實想帶出嘅結論咧，就係話咧，如果我哋要擴展呢一個保護牛嘅呢一啲活動係有可能嘅。如果我哋咧係能夠了解到咧啲牛啦，即係呢一個議題啦，佢哋需要啲乜嘢咧，有啲咩困難嘅地方，我哋係充分了解到嘅時候。
Nowadays, it's become a case of, we say in English, out of sight, out of mind.
咁用英文嚟講，其實我哋今日嘅處境就係點咧？就係眼不見為乾淨，你唔見到佢就唔會諗呢樣嘢嘅啦。
When I was young, traveling in America, a few times I crossed the U.S. with my family, and you would see so many cows on the fields.
咁我細個嘅時候咧，同屋企人啦去喺美國本土入面自己旅行嘅時候，當我哋咧去穿州過省嘅時候咧，其實一個過程我哋成日見到咧喺嗰啲平原啊，其實好多牛喺度嘅。
But gradually you don't see them anymore.
但慢慢你就見唔到啲牛啦。
Why? Because they've all become confined to what are called CAFOs.
咁其實點解咧？因為慢慢啲人咧就將啲牛咧，其實就集中埋啦，就韞佢哋喺咧嗰啲牛棚嗰度。
Which is short for, what is it? Concentrated something feed. Anyway, I always forget. Concentrated feed systems. They keep them all in one place. They bring the food for them, and they make them, grow until they're what they call slaughter weight. And then they slaughter, and all you see, you don't see the cows. What you see is the milk and the meat in the supermarket.
咁嗰度有個字去形容呢一種處理嘅系統，其實就係點咧？佢總之將啲牛咧集中晒喺一個好似工廠，集中晒喺一個地方嗰度，由出生至到死亡都喺嗰度。基本上佢哋就會養大呢啲牛啦。咁佢哋去到有一個適合去屠宰嘅重量嘅時候，就會送佢哋屠宰。咁總之我哋平時見到嘅咧已經係牛奶啦、一堆牛肉啦，喺超級市場嗰度。
And of course you don't see what's happening in the slaughterhouses.
你亦都唔會知道喺嗰個屠宰場入面發生咩事。
They don't make them they don't have glass walls.
係啊，我哋有講法就係話屠宰場係唔會用玻璃去起嘅。
So this is intended to generate more discussion on this subject.
咁呢個本書其實就係希望可以引申到更加多嘅討論啦，關於呢個題目。
Because unless we talk about it, nothing is going to actually happen.
咁因為如果我哋連討論都唔討論咧，其實就乜都做唔到噶啦。
As I said, I manage I managed to get this book published open access, and that means it's freely downloadable.
咁因為之前講過啦，我哋令到本書咧能夠可以攞到 open access 呢一個計劃嘅支持，就係希望等啲人可以咧免費下載呢本書睇。
You just search the title on Google, and you'll get right to where you can.
基本上咧，你喺 Google 嗰度咧搜尋呢本書嘅書名，就即刻可以揾到佢嚟下載噶啦。
So far, 51,000 people have downloaded.
咁目前為止咧，有51,000個讀者啦，就下載咗呢本書嘅。
How many are reading it? But at least they're downloading it.
唔知有幾多人真係有睇啦，但至少佢有 download 呢本書。
So if you download it, you're adding to the numbers, which is good.
如果你哋可以幫手去下載呢本書，至少可以增加嗰個下載量先。
And you can also read it.
咁同埋你都可以睇嘅。
Okay, we're at the final book.
終於去到最後一本書啦。
It's a small one which I wrote during the during the COVID time, what to do, write a book.
咁呢本書咧係我喺咧COVID 啦嗰個時候咧做嘅。咁COVID 有咩好做啊？冇嘢做，寫書啊。
This is called Krishna's Wonderful Form, a guide for the perplexed.
咁呢個咧其實咧就係講關於咧 Krishna 咧美妙嘅形象係啦。咁呢個係一本指南嚟嘅係啦。
You know the word perplexed? Like confused.
Yeah. 對於一啲困惑嘅人嘅指南。
So I was asked to write this by His Holiness Devamrita Swami.
咁我係受託於呢一位Swami 啦，去被邀請寫呢本書嘅。
Because he said there's a need for some book which is easily accessible for a wider audience, wider readership to understand what is going on, what is this, what are we doing in these temples, what is this deity worship.
咁因為咧，其實我哋覺得有一個需要咧，就係俾更加多嘅廣泛嘅人咧，去理解到我哋而家喺度成日喺度做咁多呢啲嘅神像啦，有唔同嘅形象啦，我哋喺度做緊啲乜嘢咧
And why is this not what in the Abrahamic religious traditions, why is it not idolatry?
咁亦都咧，點解咧？我哋要比較翻就係點解呢個唔係喺嗰個亞伯拉罕嗰個宗教體系傳統，即係例如基督教或者回教咁樣體系入面啦，佢呢一個唔係屬於神像崇拜，係唔屬於偶像崇拜。
So I took inspiration from a book which I think you know, Perfect Questions, Perfect Answers.
咁我咧係呢本書嘅，其實引用咗咧另一本書，大家應該都所謂熟知嘅，就係完美問題嘅完美答案係啦，嗰本書度。
It's a real conversation that took place between Brahmatirtha Prabhu and Srila Prabhupada.
咁嗰本書就係Brahmatirtha Prabhu 同埋聖拉布巴嘅，係一個好一連串嘅對答嘅對話錄嚟㗎嘛，嗰本書係。
And it makes, because it's a conversation, it makes philosophy of Krishna consciousness very easily accessible to read.
咁亦都因為呢個對話其實係咧令到咧啲人咧去閱讀咧Krishna 知覺意識嘅時候咧係更加容易去理解閱讀。
So I thought maybe I could do something similar on this topic of deities and deity worship.
咁於是我就諗可能我都可以用呢個方法咧去講咧呢一個關於神嘅形象啦，同埋神像崇拜啦呢一個主題。
So it's in the form of conversations, but the persons who are asking the author questions, myself being the author, they are creations of my imagination.
咁呢一本書雖然係一個對話錄啦，我就係解答問題嗰個人啦。咁但係咧問問題嗰個人咧，其實嗰個人呢個角色咧，其實係一啲我嘅想像出嚟嘅一個對話嚟嘅。
So these are three young people. I created characters. They're young people, students and postgraduate. They're very intelligent and they're very interested and curious, and they ask all the right questions.
咁呢三個角色咧，其實係我幻想出嚟嘅，咁就係一啲學生啦，有一個係研究生啦，咁佢哋咧係非常之有熱情啦，有知識啦，咁而佢哋問晒一啲問得好好嘅問題嚟嘅，全部都係啲。
It has three parts. The first part is called Do Devotees of Krishna Practice Idolatry?
咁第一篇啦，第一條問題已經係問啦，就係話 Krishna 嘅奉獻者啦，係咪喺度做緊偶像崇拜？
The second part is called Krishna's Wonderful Forms, plural.
咁第二個就係咧 Krishna 嗰啲美妙嘅形象啦。
In which I explain the different forms of deities that one sees in different temples.
咁我就係解釋緊咧喺奉獻者啦去見到啦，或者喺唔同廟入面咧唔同嘅神像嘅形象嘅。
Including Lord Jagannath.
包括主 Jagannath。
And I have a whole chapter on Subhadra.
我有一整個章節去講 Subhadra 嘅。
because we don't hear much about Subhadra.
係咯，因為我哋平時好似好少聽到關於 Subhadra。
And there's another whole chapter on Radha.
另外咧，我哋有一個大嘅章節咧，就係講Radha 嘅。
Radha, the embodiment of total love.
咁佢咧就係咧完美啦，包含住代表愛嘅係啦嘅完美代表。
And the third part is called Bhakti Yoga as attending Krishna's image.
咁而另外仲有一個章節就係講啦，奉愛服務啦，就係去靠近神嘅形象。
With two chapters, one is celebrating with Krishna.
另外仲有一個章節咧，就係叫咧與 Krishna 一齊慶祝。
And this last chapter is called A Day in Krishna's Eternal Life.
咁而最後一個章節就係講啦，Krishna 嘅永恆嘅生活入面嘅其中一日嘅一日咯。
In which the first subsection is called Krishna's Wardrobe.
咁而其中一個章節分支喺呢一版咧，就係講咧 Krishna 個衣櫃。
Now, in a book about Krishna's wonderful form, you really would like to have some pictures, right?
咁如果我哋一提到 Krishna 咧嘅完美嘅形象，我哋當然都想睇下啲相㗎啦。
So the BBT Australia, who published the book, were very kind to agree to include in the book 4 color plates.
咁當時咧澳洲個 BBT 啦，咁佢就好仁慈咧，願意咧提供4張係啦神像嘅相，咁就包含喺呢本書入面。
One is the deities of Radha Krishna at Toronto.
咁一個就係喺多倫多嘅嗰個神像嘅相啦。
Then we have deities of Gornitai in Johannesburg, South Africa.
南美嘅 HH Krishna 嘅神像相啦。
Then deities of Jagannath, Subhadra, Baladev. We don't say where they are.
跟住 Jagannath 啦，Subhadra Baladev 嘅神像。
And the deity of Krishna as Radharaman in Vrindavan.
仲有 Vrindavan Radha Mahan 咧 Krishna 嗰個形象。
Radharaman.
Radharaman.
Yeah, so that's that book. I'm sorry I don't have more copies of this with me. I only have one copy myself. So otherwise we could make it available for you. But it will somehow...
好遺憾，我暫時
from Australia you have to get them.
係好遺憾，暫時我而家身上帶得呢一本。如果唔係，我哋希望都可以攞多啲數量嚟呢度嘅。但係而家要喺澳洲寄過嚟啦，希望將來我哋可以攞多啲嚟香港呢度。
So that's it. That's now one could well ask a challenging question.
咁我哋呢度要講到咁多啦。咁你哋可能會問一條好有挑戰性嘅問題。
Why should I read all these books? We have Srila Prabhupada's books.
點解我要睇呢紮書呢？我已經有好多巴布巴嘅書要睇啦。
I don't even have time to read Prabhupada's books. How am I supposed to read your books also?
我連睇巴布巴嘅書嘅時間都冇，點解我要睇你嘅書呢？
Right? And my answer to that is, it's a very good point.
咁我嘅回應就係、你講得非常之好。
But I guess what I'm trying to do is to help in reading Prabhupada's books, to give some further reflections, further explanations.
咁但係我希望可以做到一樣嘢，就係幫助咧，就係我可以分享一啲睇巴布巴嘅書嘅心得咧，點樣去幫助大家去睇理解巴布巴啲書。
And Prabhupada gave instruction that devotees should write.
而巴布巴其實有俾奉獻者訓示，就係應該要寫作嘅。
So I'm trying to do that. He said specifically sannyasis are supposed to write.
佢其實好強調，佢就話咧sannyasis 係要寫作嘅。
So like that.
所以就係咁樣啦。
All right, that's pretty much it, unless you have some comment or question.
係啦，咁大致上今日就去到咁，睇下你哋會唔會有啲咩評論啦，或者係啲問題咁樣。
Everyone is
like a class.
Maharaj, you are attracting people to read Srila Prabhupada's book because you are a scholar.
咁
This is my comment.
我嘅評論就係你吸引人去睇包魯巴嘅書，因為你係個學者。
May I quote you?
可唔可以引用翻你呢句啊？到時我將來。
I gave a seminar, a short presentation in Mayapur a few years back called Write and Be Happy.
咁我好幾年前我喺孖日蒲其實俾過一個好短嘅講座，就係講咧寫作而快樂。
Because we hear chant and be happy, and I say, okay, chant, but also write.
係，因為我哋成日都聽到唱頌變快樂啊嘛，但我都想講寫作變快樂。
So I try to encourage all devotees can write.
我當時嘗試鼓勵咧，就係所有奉獻者都可以寫作嘅，
Even if it's writing only for yourself.
即使係淨係寫俾你自己。
You can write a journal, you can write poetry, so many ways you can write.
你可以寫日記嘅形式啦，或者你甚至寫詩都得嘅。
It can be a very nice way of focusing the mind.
咁呢個係一個好好咧，去用嚟專注自己個心念咧嘅一個方法。
It can be a nice way to share your real. Prabhupada emphasized to write according to your realization.
咁包寶包強調咧，就係話咧，根據你嘅理解啦、覺悟啦，而去咧寫出嚟。
To which you may think, oh, but I don't have any realization.
咁當然你可能會諗，咦？但我冇任何覺悟
喎。If you're chanting Hare Krishna and you're doing so many devotional things, some realization must be there.
咁其實咧，你念中咗咁耐，仲埋做一啲服務啦，一定點都會有一啲嘅發現一啲感覺嘅。
And if it's worth realizing, it's worth sharing.
咁如果係值得佢有呢個覺悟啦，其實係好值得去分享嘅。
Because you can help others to realize.
因為你可以幫助到其他人咧，佢有呢一個覺悟嘅。
A lot of people, they will look at Prabhupada's books and you say, please read one of these books.
咁好多人其實見到巴寶成日都會咧，就係即係我成日都會話讀一讀呢啲書啦咁樣。
And they may be thinking, if not saying, well, that's okay, but I want to hear what you say. What is your realization?
咁雖然佢哋可能冇講啦，但其實佢哋可能其實暗啞底係問緊一條問題，就係我都想聽下你嘅感想，你嘅覺悟係啲乜嘢
Yeah. And also you may think, no, I don't really have not much of a realization. But then you sit down and make little effort to write and you realize through the process of writing, oh, there's some realization there.
或者有陣時可能咧，你會覺得自己咧係冇任何嘅感想出嚟，但咧有陣時你寫下嘅時候，你就發原來會有啲感想係出咗嚟。Yeah.
Yes.
I have one question. As you mentioned about cow protection and other things, sometimes we have a sort of inner conflict. We feel guilty of taking milk products, cream, and all of things. So, do you think that as a devotee, we should completely give it up, like become a vegan? And we are also using milk products in our service in different temples.
Yeah.
So there is a little, conflict in the heart sometimes.
Yeah.
But we just let it go that it's okay. But at the back of mind, we know that there is something wrong going with the cows as well. So please give some direction and some light on this.
咁法寶有條問題啦，咁咧就係話可唔可以希望Maharaj 俾到一啲指示嘅，就係因為咧我哋奉獻者咧，其實我哋咧都日常生活中用好多乳奶嘅製品嘅，咁我哋平時喺奉愛服務都有陣時要用添，咁但係其實我哋知道啦，可能我哋 背後我哋都可能會有啲內疚，同埋我哋其實都知道咧呢一啲奶製品嘅出產咧個方法咧其實係好唔恰當，其實係對啲係咁，所以其實可能我哋都要內疚。咁我哋可能只不過係唔嘗試去諗同埋繼續做服務用呢一樣嘢。咁我哋應該去點樣去面對呢一啲事，同埋我哋係咪應該或者會唔會唔應該用呢啲奶製品咧，或者好似 vegan 咁樣咧？咁希望Maharaj俾啲啟示我哋。
Yes, you've touched on an issue that has become more and more an issue amongst devotees.
咁係啊，你接觸到一個好大嘅問題，而呢個係真係越嚟越大啦。嘅奉獻者之間有發生嘅一個問題嚟嘅。
I personally started, it's 10 years ago this year, to give up dairy which is not from protected cows.
係啦，咁我其實咧已經咧係嘗試咗咧10年㗎啦，咁咧就係嘗試咗10年咧，就係咧我已經冇再咧去自己咧個人咧去享用一啲咧奶製品嘅。如果嗰啲奶製品咧唔係由咧保護牛啊嗰啲計劃去產生嗰啲出嚟，係啦咁。
So that's just my personal decision and my personal, you can say, austerity.
咁呢個係我個人嘅決定嚟嘅，亦都可以話係我個人嘅選擇嘅一個苦行嚟嘅。
I'm not trying to promote it. This is now what we should all do.
咁我唔係嘗試去推廣話呢個係所有人都應該要做嘅嘢。
At the same time, I think it's good if we take more seriously what Srila Prabhupada was urging us to do, which was to make a shift, a major shift, a very major shift ultimately of transforming our economy to one which is more directly depending on the land, and that was integral to that economy is having cows and protecting them.
咁而我想嘅好，我哋可能開始咧正視就係巴布巴俾我哋嘅一個訓示，希望可以做到就係咧，我哋要去轉化我哋嗰個經濟體系，就係要多啲依賴我哋嘅土地啦。而喺當中咧，牛隻啦，而保護牛隻咧係其中一個最重要嘅活動嚟嘅。
I think in a general sense, we've become a little bit complacent, maybe very complacent and comfortable with the idea that we can just take industrial produced dairy and we can justify saying, well, the cows are benefited because we're offering their milk to Krishna. That's become a kind of a way of keeping a status quo, which is not really what Prabhupada's vision was.
咁我哋可能咧要正視翻就係其實有陣時可能因為我哋好習慣亦都安逸於咧去用一啲工業製嘅一啲奶製品，咁當然我哋可能會咁樣同自己講，令到自己舒服啲嘅就係我哋會話啊，咁其實只要我攞佢嚟供奉嘅話，咁都好啊，冇問題。咁但呢一樣嘢其實可能就會令件事係維持於現況，而唔係改變緊件事。咁我哋其實可能要正視翻呢一個想法嘅。
And part of the complacency is thinking that we can consume as much milk and dairy as we like, and it'll be somehow good for us.
咁而當中其實仲有一個諗法，可能就係我哋會慣咗諗就係我哋可以咧即係不斷咧係享用呢一啲奶製品啦，而呢一樣嘢係對我哋有益處嘅。
When actually the research indicates otherwise.
咁但其實咧研究發現咧就唔係咁嘅一回事嚟嘅。
That like anything, taking too much dairy, too much milk is not good for you.
其實如果我哋攝取大量嘅呢啲奶製品咧，其實對我哋身體唔好嘅。
So
過量就唔好。
then devotees say, well, but we have to offer, so much milk products to Krishna. That's the standard of our worship. Krishna expects that.
咁當然奉獻者可能就會話啦，我哋要供奉好多嘅奶嘅製品奶類去俾神像做服務嘅喎，呢個係個基本呢個要求嚟嘅喎。
My personal sense is that Krishna would be much, much more pleased with, for example, 1 cup of milk per day from cow that we are protecting, then he would be pleased with lots of sandesh and paneer, subjis, and so on from the dairy.
咁我個人嘅睇法就係咧，我相信 Krishna 咧，其實佢應該會好滿足咧，淨係得一杯仔，每日可能得一杯仔嘅牛奶，而呢啲牛奶係由我哋嗰啲保護牛嘅計劃去生產出嚟嘅牛奶，多過可能要好多嘅，例如餸啊、啲濕住啊，或者係奶糖啊，而呢啲奶嘅來源係嚟自啲工業牛啊生產出嚟，即係要好多呢啲咁樣嘅。
But to really what's the word? To really make such projects where cows can be protected and where the economics works, we need to see models that work.
咁但當然啦，如果要令呢一樣嘢發生，即係能夠有一個經濟有啲系統係保護到牛隻而有生產到啲出嚟，咁首先我哋見到有一個模式係真係要行得通嘅。
So one example of where they're very focused on this is in the UK, near Leicester. There's a small group of devotees who have a private project called Ahimsa Milk, the Ahimsa Foundation.
咁例如喺英國啦，有個例子就係咧喺 Leicester 呢一個郡嗰度咧，其實有班奉獻者自己做咗個私人嘅計劃，咁咧佢哋咧就係希望可以生產到就係一個叫 Ahimsa Milk， 即係非暴力牛奶咧嘅出產嘅。
It's very small. They have, I think, 15 milk-giving cows at present, more or less.
咁其實而家嘅規模都仲好細，因為佢可能得15隻真係去產奶嘅牛嘅啫，呢一啲。
And they have their customers for the milk. To become a customer, one has to first become a member, and to be a member, you have to pay an annual fee of £108.
咁首先如果你要得到呢啲牛奶，你要成為佢哋嘅會員，而呢個會籍咧一年咧就係大概108磅嘅英鎊。
And then you pay for the milk, and the milk costs at least 3 times what it costs in the shop.
咁然後你先至可以有呢個資格去買牛奶，而嗰啲牛奶嘅價格其實都係比你出面買咧可能貴3倍嘅。
Because the milk in the shop is subsidized.
係啦，因為喺平時出面鋪頭賣嗰啲牛奶其實係有資助嘅。
And this is not subsidized.
而呢種奶咧其實就冇得到資助。
So this Ahimsa Milk Project, they have a waiting list of people with, I was told last time, around 1,000 people are on the waiting list.
咁但係咧呢個計劃出嚟之後啦，其實咧喺嗰個等候名單咧想加入嘅計劃嘅人咧係過千嘅，其實而家係。
So people are willing to pay so much more for milk from cows that are protected, who are not injected with hormones, who are peaceful, etc.
咁但係你可以見到其實就有好多人願意俾一個更加高嘅價格啦，去攞呢一啲咧由一啲唔係俾人打荷爾蒙針啊同埋係一啲開心啲嘅牛生產出嚟嘅牛奶。
So they're trying to create a model which then can be copied.
咁佢哋就希望咧成立咗呢個咁樣嘅模式啦，等其他人可以去仿效嘅。
So it's a long process, but something is being done.
咁所以呢個係一個好長嘅過程啦，但係有啲嘢係希望可以能夠做到我哋。
Okay, I think we should end there.
咁我諗我哋今日就到此為止啦，應該。
Thank you all very much for your attention.
好感謝你哋嘅專注。
Jinju. Attention. Focus.
OK。
Jinju. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Guru Maharaj ki Jai.